In a relationship,
Go
you know
on.
what you got to be? Be a Gary Neville in a relationship.
Yeah.
Steady every game, right?
Can you go out on loan? Can you be going
No,
go out on
no,
loan?
you certainly can't go out alone.
Like you said, a one man. It's a one man. You know,
You've
a
got
team-
to be Gary Neville, man.
You never go out alone, never.
Yeah,
One team player.
One of the biggest moments of my life is when I won a BAFTA, to have gone from where I started to win that. And Rio also won that year. Like, he took the time to come and tell me that. And since that, I carry that with me.
Hello, I'm David Vujanic,
And I'm Specs Gonzalez.
and this is Stripped, brought to you by William Hill.
In this show, we talk to celebrity guests as we get nostalgic, looking back at retro football shirts that made us fall in love with the game.
That is right. Our guests pick 4 shirts that tell the story of their life. The first one, the haunted one, the unforgettable one, and the named one.
Listen, man, today we've got a special guest. He's an actor, a writer, podcast. He's everywhere.
How tall is he?
Oh my God, he's 5'18",
Wow.
which is 6'8". Ladies and gentlemen,
Tom Davis!
I love 5'18", bro. I'm going to use that.
He actually
gonna
counted
use
it as well before.
Yeah, I'm going to use that.
that's how I do the heights.
I feel less of a freak at 5'18".
When did you realise you were going to be mad tall? Were you always tall, like in school as well?
I was tall and skinny. Like,
Oh, is it?
Yeah, really like proper, like thin. Yeah. No, like
this?
thin, yeah. It was until like I started working like, 15, started working on sites, having to lift, and then I started bulking out a bit, and also stomach started growing because I was drinking beer all the time at that time. But yeah, man, that was when I started getting a bit bigger. But I was tall and thin, wiry. It was like, and there wasn't like a Peter Crouch at that time to aspire to be.
Just you.
Yeah, there's no tall footballers that you could look at. I think Ronaldo, Arnhem was probably the first one I remember who
He
was
was kind
tall.
of slim, innit?
He was tall, wasn't he? Arnold's tall.
He was tall as well.
Yeah,
Arnhem,
tall,
yeah. He had everything when you saw him.
Slender.
Oh,
He
mate.
had the look. Something about the look as well, innit? Like he was handsome in a
Yeah.
strange way.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, when you've watched football for a long time and you watch someone who just made it look effortless,
Yeah.
like utterly effortless. I loved watching him. He used to do Eurosport on a Saturday and it would
Oh
show
my
all the
God.
goals for Europe. And he would be like, you'd just be watching just to see what he'd done, what magic he'd done. It's an incredible footballer.
Listen, that was nostalgic. You said Eurosport. That show was called, I think, Euro Goals.
He was, yeah.
Yeah. Legendary, but the commentator was always so loud.
Yeah.
Couldn't hear the audience.
But that's what I loved about it, is the fact that they put so much. Even now we don't have that. We like in England we don't have that much like adrenaline. Like that's what like I think like when we talk about the shirts and talk about that's what I loved. Used to sort of like listening to how much sort of passion they had for the game, and like whether it's the Dutch league, the Spanish league. But they used to be like a Saturday morning. It was like they round up that was an incredible show.
I remember Euro goals, but I don't think they ever had Prem.
No.
Right? They never had Prem.
No.
They had, like,
Belgium.
Italian,
Yeah.
Spanish,
Italian.
Dutch,
What
French. They used
a
to go
show.
for it, and it showed every goal.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah.
Eurosport's one of those weird channels. Like, I always turn it on when usually for tennis, if I intentionally go.
Yeah.
If I'm not intentionally watching Eurosport, it's always cycling.
Yeah.
It's always cycling.
Or some
ones.
other weird sort of like sailings on there.
Is that the same the one with the big thing on the in the sea?
Yeah.
I never understood that.
In the sea.
Yeah.
Never understood that
You'll
sport.
sit watching sailing thinking, I genuinely haven't been on a boat sailing. That's about the most boring thing. But watching someone else do it, you're just like, how are people doing this?
How does one get into sailing?
Say how they get in money.
Yeah.
You never see people like us. There's
South
never anyone
London.
like unless we're cleaning the boat. Unless or I'm working on the door for the boat. That's the only way you see me sailing. Or if someone's strapped a sail to me.
Yeah,
That's the only time.
We were talking about the sea though, weren't we, Specs? Me and you earlier.
Because you were saying basically you'd love to see me skydive and
Surfing.
surfing. And for me, I'm a man. I believe we should leave the sea alone, and I believe they put sharks in there for us not to go into the sea.
That's a beauty.
Yeah.
You're like the Attenborough.
Yeah,
Because you think there's something under
I
the
think
sea.
I think there's another world under the sea.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think they put sharks and stingrays, and
Stingrays.
whales
Yeah.
to block us from
Nemo.
seeing and Nemo
Yeah.
and all that. So
Wow. Yeah,
that's my
I
belief,
love
man.
the fact you sit watching a Little Mermaid like it's a documentary.
There is there's some mad creatures though under the sea.
There is.
Of course.
Like if you go
I
down,
don't think I agree with Specs. I don't think we've seen half of it.
Of course not.
Things like the Bermuda. I mean, this is going well off.
let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it, man.
Like Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, that's real.
Whoa.
That's real,
yeah.
man.
That's some.
You can't fly over it.
No.
Yeah.
And there's some
What is it?
spooky madness that's happened. I don't like the sea. Oh, no, that's it.
That's
You
how
not
I
a
played
swimmer?
it.
I can swim a bit, but as soon as I'm sort of waist high,
That's
I start
it,
thinking,
same.
yeah.
My feet can't touch the ground.
Yeah. I like that's why we invented swimming pools. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone was bright enough to go, there's riptides, there's current. When you break down the sea, you're right. It's a fest of like disaster.
Play with the pool, but I play with the sea. In
Yeah.
fact, I actually nearly drowned in the pool.
Really?
Yeah, when I was year 6, and I remember the Baywatch teacher used the pole, and I'm sure he was trying to
Dunk
keep me
you
under.
down.
What was that pole?
Kill you.
What's that pole about? What's it?
I think for you to grab on.
Oh, I'm meant to grab it.
Yeah.
I was moving it out the way. I was moving it out the way. I thought he was trying to
Like get you.
push me down with it. Yeah.
Like,
is
stab you to
crazy,
death
man.
with a really long pole. We'll get him.
I think we have digressed quite
Yeah,
far.
Of course, man.
Oh,
Deep stuff
we
there,
are
right?
rabbit
Yeah,
hole
yeah.
guys.
Of course.
Yeah. I actually
love 'em.
genuinely thought this is probably just about the most educating
Oh, it
podcast I've
is.
been on.
But listen, we've got a great announcement, no?
I got it.
Behind us.
Oh yeah, I got the
We've got a
shirts.
new
These
Wow,
are nice.
wow, the strip shirts. Yes,
William
they
Hill
are
shirts.
nice shirts.
Wow.
What do you
They
think?
are quite
I
nice
like
shirts,
them.
you know.
Yeah.
I like the gold.
Clean.
But yeah, you know what? That's when you've got the right look.
Clean.
Clean is everything.
Yeah.
Because you got a nice pattern.
I
nice
like the gold, man. The
font.
gold's nice.
I like this.
Font's
This
nice.
Badge is nice.
reminds me a bit of like the Tottenham
like the cup.
Holston.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
Tottenham
Chris
Holston,
Armstrong, yeah. No,
Yeah.
Remember
Yeah.
that Juve gold shirt? Remember Juve had the gold
Yeah, they
shirt?
did,
when
they
played
did.
Fulham.
Yeah.
That shirt
Oh,
was
yeah,
mad.
that's the
It's like Wolves are.
Wolves.
Yeah,
Wolves,
but Wolves is never. Their gold's just a little bit off. It looks like
Weird.
fake gold.
Yeah, 9
Like, yeah.
carats.
Yeah.
Kilburn High Road.
I had like a chain like that when I left
Yeah,
school.
just leaves a couple marks.
Yeah, like a little green mark for the whole thing.
Right, we're going to go to the first one, Tom.
Yep.
And this is the shirt that made everyone fall in love with the game. Yeah? Everyone.
Yeah.
And you went with the England 1990 Home World Cup kit.
I think that was the first time where it felt like I was a football fan before then and liked it. That was the first time that football felt like it was like the run up to like it becoming the blockbuster that we know now. Even now, looking back, it felt so vibrant, and that kit sort of sat in the middle of it all. Really, I remember like at school them having a day where everyone could just wear their football kit in. And one kid in my school had the away shirt. It wasn't like now where it was like that was almost impossible to get the away
What
shirt.
colour was the
Red.
Red.
Yeah, it was a
Okay.
red. It was a
Great.
banging shirt. I just don't remember people having away
Where
shirts.
would you get a kit back then? Would it be
I think it was
available
like-
as widely?
I think it was, but it was, yeah, but it was like, it wasn't like now, was it? Like you didn't have JD Sports and stuff. I mean, this makes me feel so old. Like it wasn't a
we're
blockbuster.
going
Like
nostalgic.
literally, essentially, like you had like this is before Blockbuster, so you had Joyce's video shop that also sold wool
Joyce?
and other stuff. Yeah,
Who's Joyce?
Yeah, Joyce was an old lady who had a shop who sort of went,
Well, big up Joyce, man. I didn't know that.
No. Joyce was like the local person to us who had a video shop. Everyone was like, you'd have like a video shop that was like, and then the sports shop would just be like a sort of failed PE teacher who sort of a bit like, you know, it wasn't like there wasn't as lucrative a market. So yeah, you couldn't just go out. You had to hope that you could find one in your size.
That's mad.
And yeah, I remember that shirt, and I remember like the football fever of that sort of. It was when people like footballers again started feeling like superstars, you know. Like it was like those guys sort of. England had been for like in the doldrums for a little while. They hadn't had like, you know, and all of a sudden like these players were coming through who you know. To finish in that sort of semi-final, in a sense that you felt like actually a little unjust. Didn't like now when you look at it, it goes, well, actually that's happened pretty much every 4 to 8 years with England. You know, you think you're going to win it, you think you've got a chance, and it doesn't. But yeah, man, that kit just felt like skinny shorts.
What were you doing at that time? Do you remember, like 1990?
1990,
Where
I
were
was
you?
flunking out of school. Probably I was 10. Yeah,
You were
I'd have been
10?
10, yeah. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think it's the identity of who you're going to be as well, right? It's not just like the football is such a big part of like when you're growing up, especially if you're growing up in a working class background. Football comes massive for you, and I think like that sort of side of thing. I knew I was awful at it. I wasn't any good at football. I knew I was like never like, you know, scuffing around like the B team of any little league. Do you know what I mean? Like already sort of finding my place within like the world of like, I was for Sunday League. I was just standing around looking after other people's things.
Did you wear those blocky shoes? Yeah, the blocky ones. Yeah, not even wallabies or the.
No.
You couldn't. Not the ones that you can chip. You can't chip it, innit?
No, just to smash a toe.
What were they called? Like the rockers.
I know,
Rockers?
I know the ones you mean.
Yeah.
As a defender.
Yeah.
Literally sort of basing your whole game around it like a squad player. How sad to be 10 and know that that's your role in life.
This is me.
Yeah, I'm going to be a squad player. I might get 3 games a year. I'm all right with that.
Oh, yeah, so that's what I guess, English. I think like being an Englishman. This kit reminds you of like an Englishman.
Was the atmosphere like, like now with the World Cup and Euros, everyone gets behind?
It's a weird one for me as well because I was 10 then, and then I was 14 in 1994 when, because I'm sort of, my family all from Ireland as well, so I'm English-Irish. So that year in 1994, I had to toss up really between this one and in 1994, that Ireland team that went to America and beat Italy. Like one of the best games of football I've ever seen. And actually, like we were over, because we used to go to have our holidays over the summer in Ireland. So that in itself felt like I really had to like go, which of these two really sort of like sitting side by side, 94 Ireland. But the one that made me fall in love with, like really like think football is something that, and has been a mainstay in my life, like as a air of romance to it, like football, I've had different girlfriends, I've had different jobs, I've been in different sort of places in my life, but football's been the only constant, do you know what I mean? And actually that probably started in, the disappointment. You, as a 10-year-old, you learn that disappointment is going to be a massive part of your life. When you're not very educated,
that's true.
And you go through life and, actually supporting a team that are never really going to, in West Ham, they're never going to achieve too much. So your actual, your own sort of ambitions can be sort of almost like, oh, actually, that's just about enough. Oh, a semi-final feels pretty good,
Football's character building. It's a spiritual experience, isn't it? If you look at it, you don't go into those levels of how an identity crisis at 10. You're deciding which country to go for at 14. Getting ready for disappointed as a working class human. There's so much to
every
it,
job
really.
you're going for. I went for a job as a bin man at 16. I thought all I ever wanted to do is be a bin man. I went along and they said I was too eager. Too eager.
Too eager to pick up bins and put it in the van?
They said you were too
because I
talented.
knew all the routes and I was really excited by it. And they said, no, come on, mate, you do our head in being in the truck with that fella.
Wait a minute. They turned you down because you wanted to do it.
Yeah, I was so eager. Turned up really, yeah. I thought, I've got this job and I was really pumped for it.
And it's funny, actually, because my mum and dad, because when I was younger and having similar questions, actually, being Serbian and all these things, immigrants, blah, blah, blah. But mum was like, what do you want to be? And I was like, I want to be a football supporter.
Yeah.
And she was like, so how are you going to get paid of being a supporter? And I was like, no, I just want to be like the guys that chant.
That's a big thing as well.
You could be an ultra.
Yeah.
But that's
a difference. An ultra's a different thing, right? I look and think, like as an England fan or like West Ham fan or whoever you support, and you hear a chant and that chant. I remember like the Dimitri Payet ones.
Dimitri Payet, we've got Payet.
Is
it that? Dimitri Payet.
I just don't think you understand.
Was that?
He's 7 minutes, man. He's better than Zidane. We've got.
Okay,
right, so that song, right, that became. Everyone started having a version from, But at some point, right, one person, made that into, like, spent some time, thought about it.
Paid.
Yeah, and then turned up at the game. Like, anxiety must have been, I'm a performer. Imagine being there just thinking, well, I've got to, like, smash this now. I'm going to drop, and it's like Stormzy dropping a new track.
Yeah.
But you're in the middle of, like, 60,000 people, and you go, we've got Payet, Dimitri Payet. I just don't think you understand. He's 7 minutes, man. He's better than Zidane. We've got Dimitri. And then you've got to go, hope someone goes, was that you singing, mate? We've got Payet, Dimitri Payet, 3 or 4. Then everyone. That's an incredible thing. So that person, I've got no idea. I've got no idea.
We know Stormzy, but we don't know
who did that.
Yeah, who came out that for the first time?
Those are the stories you need to tell.
Yeah, but I'd love to go up to, that, like, every football fan, like, knew that Vieira song.
Yeah, that's impossible, though, because how do you prove it was them?
Yeah. Ryan Giggs running down the wing. Yeah. Boom.
Because someone could lie that they made up.
Someone should lie.
I would lie. If I thought I could get away with inventing the Payet, we had one at West Ham, which was, I don't know what's been said, but Jermaine Defoe's boots are made from lead, and I don't know what you've been told, but Bobby Zamora's are made from gold. Da, 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 da,
I like
da, da.
that.
It's when Defoe left, went to top, and we got Bobby Zamora in exchange. It's all that. That's a great song.
It's a great song.
Yeah, so many levels to it.
I'm still in awe about the bin man story.
Yeah.
Because apart from the football fan, my parents used to tell me then, because I didn't know what I was going to do for a long time, and then they were like, oh, "You should try being a bin man. Like you're going to be a bin man." Like they were almost like looking down at the job, and I was like, maybe I'd be a good bin man.
Yeah, but also like I used to sort of like. It's a weird thing when you used to look out your window and see the bin men at it. They all laughing and having a laugh together and a joke, like the sort of team spirit of that. I worked on building sites from a very young age, and I did that job for a long time. I slipped and did other little bits here and there, but I did that for a long time. And actually, like the team spirit, or sort of like the being together of different people, and then when you're working on a big building site, it's different cultures, different people from different backgrounds who are doing different jobs there. Become like I think. It's really easy to look at sort of a job like that and just assume that it's sort of like a little bit sort of like, I don't know, like sort of aggressive or whatever. Actually, you meet a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds. And you know, when sort of in 1996, 1997, when sort of England and London was a very growing place, you sort of, the amount of different people you met, like you'd meet people like, you know, who come from Serbia or Romania, who sort of like, you know, different people, you know, and the one language that you'd all have was football. You work for a Romanian geezer, straight finger Petrescu, Haji.
Legend.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Petrescu
the plumber.
Man.
Yeah.
He's there, like,
We'll just call it, he had a weird name, you just call him Popescu.
Yeah.
He was a player. Popescu, by the way, went to Tottenham. Haji was good. Popescu, people forget about.
How does one go from, you know, scaffolding, a failed bin man, unfortunately, into comedy?
I think I'd done it for a long time, and I think I just wanted to do something else with my life. I think now we have conversations as men about mental health, and we talk about that a lot. Which then you didn't. You sort of tried to suck up your problems. You didn't want to become a hindrance to people. And I think I'd actually got into a position where I was actually probably sort of quite depressed, and I think I was quite down. I think the lack of achievement or the lack of feeling that I'd actually accomplished anything in my life. I'd like not, you know, when you say like working, I was still labouring. I was like at sort of 31. I was still doing the same job I was doing at like 15. I wasn't like, I hadn't climbed up that ladder at all. So I'd seen like a few different comedians do stand up, and Mickey Flanagan in particular was like, I just watched him and was in awe, and I thought actually I might just try this thing. And then I worked really hard at it, work on a site during the day, and in the evening I'll go and gig, and sometimes I'd have to go to Manchester on a coach. You travel like 5-6 hours on a coach to go and do 5 minutes on stage and travel back that night. Like getting to London at like 5 in the morning.
What's this?
And
Like
go back and start open mic.
mics?
Yeah. And just did that and did that and did that. And just like actually weirdly thought, a bit like weirdly, you know, in football or boxing, how do you get match fit? And that's just training and giving your whole self to it. Yeah, and I was with a lot of young people who are coming through. So I had to sort of be like Ian Wright or Jamie Vardy. I've played in the non-leagues. I've been grafting a while, and I thought, right, let's see how. You know, everything is a football analogy.
Yeah,
that's what I learned.
God,
but everything I learn in life,
everything
is. I'm not an educated guy. I didn't finish school. My schooling has been football.
Yeah.
Like not even a player, but someone who's watched how football works and the different ways different people fit in that world. And I think everything you can put down to football.
Relationships.
Oh yeah.
You know what relationships are? Here we go. Here, I'll give you that. In a relationship, you know what you've got to be? Be a Gary Neville in a relationship. Steady every game, right? The worst thing you can do in a relationship, right, is going big. Like you go flying in, and you have an amazing debut where you score a hat trick. You're buying too much. You're treating people to too much, right? And then like and then what happens is your form waves a little bit. You start not playing as well, or whatever, or you're looking for another team to play for, and then you get ideas of going to a bigger club, right? Worst kind of person.
Right, Tom, can you go out on loan? Can you be going
no,
alone?
No, you certainly can't go out alone.
Like you said, a one man. It's a one man.
You've got to be Gary Neville, man.
You Gary Neville got alone, never.
No. You once you put on that shirt and you commit to play, don't try scoring goals. Just steady every week.
Stevie G.
Yeah,
Lampard,
Stevie J. Yeah,
Gary Neville.
Yeah.
Not everybody can be a Zlatan.
No,
Yeah.
Zlatan is the worst kind of person. Yeah. He's always looking, hold on, how do I get to a better club? He's 42, he still isn't happy.
Can you miss training sometimes?
No. You've always got to go training. You always play your hardest. You literally pass the ball so someone else could do the better stuff.
That's quality, Gary Neville.
And that's relationship of be Gary Neville.
I'm going to use that.
I'm going to start using that. Because I feel like now, if I look at my path of life right now, who would I be? Think of for yourself. Because
I'm Gary Neville. I've done 18 years. I've done.
I think now, if in the context of my relationship life, I'm Jamie Vardy.
Jamie Vardy?
I look at it and I think I played for lesser clubs for a long time. I really couldn't find my place. And then I found happiness in a place. And even though other places might come in for you, but you go, no, I'm happy here. Yeah. This is the best place.
Transfer request, decline.
Yeah.
Decline.
Transfer request is such a weird thing. I'm thinking about joining a bigger team.
He's Dean Ashton.
Dean Ashton?
Oh, go on. That is a shout. What a player.
Yeah, what a player, but also that would suggest that you've had an amazing couple of seasons, but you might never have sex again.
I would. You know what? I have actually contemplated the celibate path, but I would say Firmino. I would say Firmino.
Firmino? Wow.
Because I have class. I have the potential.
Yeah.
But I get benched sometimes.
Yeah.
And I just chill on the bench, but then I come on and you go, oh, he's got quality. And I know eventually Firmino will find his place.
I'm Harry Kane.
No.
Yeah,
You're Gal Clichy.
Come on.
You're Gal Clichy. You were steaming along quite nicely, and then you've got ideas above your station.
Oh, man. It's true, though. That's true. Life is football. Life is football. Football is life. Tom. Yeah, we're going off piste a little bit here and there, but thoroughly enjoying this chat. But let's move on to the second shirt, which is the unforgettable shirt. Yeah. It's a shirt that opens doors to great football moments and standout seasons. And you've picked the Juventus 94-95 home kit.
Legendary.
Mate, that team. That Juventus around that time was so this is what I'm talking, when I got obsessed with Football Italia, watching that of a Sunday. That was
all of us were, innit?
And Sunday was just almost like you'd have to take to your mum, you'd sometimes have one, sometimes two games, but they change kickoff time sometimes. So your whole Sunday roast, and if you were playing your own little league games, everything had to be scheduled around that. And I was obsessed. And Juventus became the team that I just absolutely liked. At that time, Ravanelli, Baggio, Vialli, Dino Baggio, Conte, they were an amazing side that just I love Dino Baggio. I tried to sort of set my game up I'd be a player a bit like him. He was and Conte, and the manager you see now. It's insane because you see him now, and he should have a head like mine.
He's still got his hair from then.
His hair's regrown beautifully. But that side and that shirt, back then as well, around '96, we started really signing bigger, better players were coming into the Premier League. But at that time, and I don't know, just had an air of class about watching those teams.
It was different in Serie A then. Arguably the best league in the world back then.
Signore, Lazio were banging.
Signore.
Beppe Signore, Hullet at Milan. It was that was 90s. A time where it was, and I just used to love how that kit looked. Like you say, clean lines, and it just looked, it's
the two stars as well. The badge was 2 stars. You had a badge in the collar, and Danon in the middle.
Well, Danon was a big thing then. It was Danon.
Well, Danon's still around, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still doing it. They're not sponsoring Juventus anymore.
They're just dropping little yogurts. That's about it. Just
I love the idea. At half time, they would just have those little pots.
That's Danon, isn't it? The little pots of Danon.
Also, that the thing where you look at the stylistic look of that Vialli, skinhead, always dressed immaculately on and off pitch, and then Ravanelli with the silver hair, taller and and then Baggio with the little ponytail. they look, those front three just look so iconic. That time and that team and that just,
era.
but that all their shirts were banging.
The Inter Milan was banging as well.
AC Milan, Lazio shirt was lovely.
Fiorentina.
Fiorentina.
Nintendo.
Fiorentina, Batistuta and all of those. Was that Nintendo in there?
Nintendo,
Oh, man.
They had 7-Up as well. 7-Up. They had the best sponsors, arguably.
Fiorentina.
And also, like, how much it meant to, like, their teams when, like, if you had, like, when Batistuta was going to talk, there's one time was talked about going to, I think he was looked like Juve or whatever. There's riots in the street and stuff.
And I always remember
crazy,
the games back then.
Smoke?
How did you know I was going to say that?
Yeah. I couldn't see. I couldn't see the games.
Yeah.
There was always mist.
And also, every game felt big.
Yeah.
Every game felt big.
Even if Lecce played, you'd be like, it's a big game.
Lecce against Perugia.
Because Lecce needed a draw.
Yellow and red kit.
Lecce needed a draw to stay up. And you were like, this is a huge game.
Lecce versus Sampdoria or some stuff. You were like, yeah. Put that dinner back in the microwave, please.
But when you think like Nottingham Brighton, you're like, I don't want to watch that really as much.
No, but
Lecce,
at the
Sampdoria,
scale
1994.
And like years later when I went to like Della P and like to the San Siro and all that, there's something even with those old stadiums like that now. Look, you say earlier when I was chatting to you like about the Tottenham Stadium and about the Emirates and about like the Etihad and all this and West Ham and London, they're beautiful new stadiums. When you go to those Italian ones, they kind of still feel like colossal. They feel like they're all like when you walk around them, they're all concrete. They just feel like intimidating. And like, with this, but then weirdly with that smoke, there's an area like it's beautiful. Like when the game starts, it's like.
That's what I feel about Spurs a little bit. That's the reason, because I've been obviously Emirates, Wembley, I'm not a fan. For some reason, I don't know if you've been to the new Spurs ground. You have. For me, I still think they've managed to retain something within the new.
But it's weird though, in a sense, like when you go to like San Siro and you go to some of these places like Della P, and I can't remember the name in Rome, but you go to these places that are like almost like Colosseums. Yeah. Like some of them haven't had any work done in years. They don't feel like but they still feel like football stadiums. When you go to Old Trafford now and Anfield's one of the greatest places to watch football in the world. Like I can't think, and it's having work done to it to become, but they don't feel like they've lasted as well as like these sort of like Italian,
I think it's the concrete element.
I just and they're not flash. There's no bells and whistles.
And you're a man that obviously been in the building business.
Yeah.
You know about materials.
Well, let me tell you. You know what it is, right? Yeah, it's exactly that. Because it's like when you try and make stuff to make it look new and cool, right? In 10 years' time, something else new and cool has come along, and it's like that thing feels really, really dated. It's the same with kits in a sense, but like if you build something that's just substantial and it's just going to go dump it in the middle of a city and it's just made of concrete, it's always going to be a bit of an eyesore, but it's always going to be the same eyesore.
I just didn't like the fact that Milan, Inter shared. I think Torino, Juventus shared. Sampdoria, Genoa shared. Lazio, Roma.
They share.
There's just too much sharing. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, but then also I guess like when you get those games and you have to go and sit in the away end of what essentially is usually your home stadium, it becomes quite an amazing thing.
Well, that's true,
That is mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
How did you feel about Ravanelli going from Juve to?
I was devastated. I wanted him to go to West Ham.
How did you find out? Teletext?
Yeah, it would be. Teletext. Do you remember sitting on the club line for like about 5 hours? Like you'd literally go like that. You'd sit looking at teletext, waiting for it to change, and then they just like a flashing little line would say West Ham in for like Brazilian international. You dial like that, and it go West Ham United are in for Brazilian international. More following, and you're like, okay, like stay and chill. Like message from so and so, and then like Harry would come on, Harry Redknapp would come and go. Yeah, we're looking good for Saturday's game. And you go, all right, who's this Brazilian international? And before you know it, like you've been on the line for like 7 hours waiting, and it's just literally repeat. And nothing would be said about this Brazilian. It was just such a con. I essentially think I spent so long on those things. I reckon I brought about 3 or 4 players for West Ham.
We're going nostalgic. Into the haunted one.
Yeah,
this is the shirt that gives you those bad memories, bad memories. Your least favourite, and you've gone for Deutschland.
Yes.
Germany Euro 1996 home kit.
Yeah, man.
Tell us why.
That game in 1996 where we played Germany in the semi-final, and they beat us. And we were wearing the away kit, right? We were wearing the grey kit.
Oh, the grey one, infamous grey one.
The grey kit, which was a banging kit actually. I kind of like, still got it somewhere. Germany were in that kit, and I always remember like, I was so like you talk about like generation, what football means, not like to a country. And 96 felt like when 1990 was a start. I say 96 felt like New Labour had got in, not to get too political, like, but London was like, England was a growing country. Like it felt like kind of we'd been in the doldrums for a while, and actually like everything was open up. Oasis were big, like we had the best music scene. It just felt
HMV.
like, man, it just felt like it was England feels like a place to be for and I think like for myself as like someone whose like grandparents came from Ireland, I think like it's a massive part of this country where we have to celebrate the fact, the diversity of it. And it's like the different people that come here and like make this country what it is. And that's been like happening for so long. I think that actually really 96 felt like I actually sort of like we'd open the doors to become something quite special. And I think at the centre point of that was this tournament. And we like Terry Venables coming in, and like I think there was this that everything before of it, they had this dentist chair thing that was crazy, and everyone was like writing that team off. But actually what that did, I think, is it made the team humanized them. It's like I was 16 at that time, so it was the first time I was probably like going out with my guys and drinking, and actually made these guys who were playing at the top level of football, and made them feel quite like they were just like you in a way. They were older, but and I think the way we played, the openness of playing football, we talk about the tournament that's just been the Euros. That year, it felt like, sort of Terry Venables, Rio was in the squad, and like, you had young players, but also there was like, it just felt, for the first time, it just didn't feel like we were going to stick sort of 10 men behind the ball. We were going Steve McManaman, Anderton, Gazza, Gazza was back to it, Sheringham, Shearer, Paul Ince was just, for me, like he never gets talked about enough, Paul Ince. As a West Ham fan, there's all this thing about what happened there with Man United and stuff, but Paul Ince for England, and then when he went from Man United to Inter, what a player that guy was, man. Like we talk about someone you won in the trenches, and Paul Ince just felt like he just hit that ground at that time, and it was it's an exciting place to be. Stuart Pearce, sort of like this relic from 1990, who 6 years later, with sort of all his demons were just like gone, and it was exciting. And I think like you get to that semi-final, and you're sort of like you're up against Germany again, and it's like 6 years before that the heartache that we'd felt. And I'd gone to all the games with my pals, and I was like that the whole country just felt like united in this thing. And I think like when we lost to Germany in 1990, it felt like there was almost like the Germans then, it was like sort of they were quite humble in their victory. And in 96, they were like, Thomas Muller did this dance in front of us, and it was like this sort of posturing thing.
Oh yeah.
And it felt there like
posture.
Yeah, rubbed it in a bit. It's not just that German shirt, it's like all of them. And then, don't get me wrong, I'm someone who owns a number of shirts from, I look at like that, a lot of the Germany shirts are banging, do you know what I mean? They've got really good old school shirts, but that's the one that always brings heartache, that 96 one.
I cried, man. I definitely cried. Just because England were the better team in that game.
Yeah, we were.
Gaza, yeah, because England were the better. England missed so many chances, Gaza in extra time. And it's just, I think, I remember after that Gaza miss, everyone started to like, kind of know like, all right, cool, it's one of those games.
Anderton missed one, like, almost the same like chance.
Yeah.
So it's not meant to be though, isn't it?
And then there was a bit of the, there was a thing, they did a BBC like thing, they showed a tournament. And because you knew that Terry Venables was stepping down, you knew he was going. And they did this, they did a song by a band called Cast, and the song was called Walk Away. And it was like, even now, I sometimes, if I want to make myself feel sad, if I'm about to go and do a sad scene and something, I'll go back and watch that. I'll go watch like the Walk Away bit with Terry Venables. There's a bit where he's like, and he's just not nailed it enough, and all the players are crying, and it's an amazing thing. And that's and I think football, more than any, the little joys that it brings, but actually the sort of like those moments of like, wow, like boom, that's reality. Yeah.
And England are always sort of, because there are hopes to win a tournament.
Yeah.
Always just, the hopes are quite high.
Yeah.
And they do go far, England, even last year, Euros with the final, we had semi-finals, quarter-finals. It's always never winning it. Never winning it.
And if I'm honest, I think sometimes, I think it has to be right when you do.
I agree.
I think it has to be right when you do.
All the chakras need to align.
Yeah, but I think also, you have to make sure that, for society's in the right place for that as well. I think actually in '96 it wasn't too far away. I think in the last one, I think the last tournament, not to get too deep about, I think it actually opened up a lot of stuff when you look at it and go, actually, there's a lot we have to do as society now.
It wasn't right for it to.
Yeah, but also the final with what happened, I thought was truly disgusting, man. I thought it was horrible, and I thought there's bits of have we been too short-sighted in thinking there's problems that still are massive within us as a society that need clearing up, and we don't deserve to win a tournament if this is the way that we're going to behave.
Facts.
For those young people, man, I think I think we all have to sit down and take a look at ourselves, because that's not the England that I'm proud to support as a fan. That's not the England I want to support as a fan. I think it's a pretty low moment, I think, in us as a country. It certainly wasn't synonymous with even the losses that I felt in '96 and 1990. That felt something. It was a bitter, disgusting taste, and I hope that hopefully that will never be something that happens again. We have to work as fans and as people.
Definitely. It felt like Mordor. I went. It was weird.
Yeah.
Energy was dark. I just felt a bit ominous.
Yes. Yeah.
And then afterwards, it was funny because it was quite a nice day. And then afterwards, I remember coming out of the stadium and it rained.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is good that England didn't win.
Yeah.
This was actually good.
I watched on TV that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In there was mad, man. It was manic.
Yeah. I went to every other game. I didn't go to that one. I went to the semi-final, and then I was just and the semi-final was creeping in though, that feeling of entitlement and a slight aggression. I think because we'd come out of COVID and stuff, and it just felt like
people were ready to just.
The Germany game felt like, wow,
that felt the best one, didn't it?
That felt the moment everyone was joyous and everyone was happy, and it felt like, and then weirdly there's this sense of we should win this now, and that was never a thing in '96 or in 1990. It just got quite sort of even I was at the Scotland game. It just felt even then people were ready to they were jumping on Harry Kane or Raheem Sterling.
Oh yeah, that was 0-0, was it?
Yeah. And they felt you're wow, it just felt a little bit and then the Germany game come along, and then we were oh, actually no, everything's all right, and then we sort of start playing a little bit better. But even in that game, I remember because I went with Romesh and we were a bit oh, this feels a bit edgy. Do you know what I mean? People are quite quick to get on players' backs, and it wasn't wow, this is a tournament. Let's enjoy it. Let's treat this for what it is. Humanity has been through the most testing 18 months that it can go through, and we're all back and we're all watching football. That's something that we at one point didn't think we'd be doing again for a long time. Let's be joyous about that. But instead, what happened, it was just wow, this sort of anger fed through the place at times.
The collective consciousness was strange.
Just bubbling. And that's the thing that I was a bit in '96, even though we lost, people were just, I think,
a bit more
football-wise we'd lost, but I think we felt maybe as a country, I think we felt we were still growing, and I think there was still things to look forward to. There's things I think that us winning the last Euros would have felt like a plaster, but there's so many other things going on.
Well, sticking to '96, I mean, England playing Scotland when Gascoigne done that celebration. Jamie Redknapp comes off the bench. Yeah. How is it working with him now?
Well, firstly, that game with Jamie, right? That was, people forget what a baller Jamie was.
He was techie.
Jamie was and when you talk to other players and people who played with him or played against him, you realise the respect that goes out to Jay. He's incredible guy, and actually his knowledge of the game, and even now people don't know really. He does so much for younger players and people coming through. He's like a G man, but yeah, I love the guy. I've had some of the best times of filming and being away with him. I had to pinch myself a bit when I first worked with Jay, because he was wow, it's an insane thing to say. We're not that far away in age, but he was playing for Liverpool when I was still at school. Like he's sort of been around. Like I remember girls in my class having pictures of him on their stickers of him.
The calendar.
Yeah. He was like Jamie Redknapp. He was like
he was handsome. He was cute.
He was the
mate,
most
he's
sexiest
still.
man. Yeah.
Let me
He's
tell you,
got
right?
something about him.
If you ever feel in your life that you actually start feeling good about yourself, and you need to check yourself and how you look. Find Jamie Redknapp, stand next to him for about 35 seconds, and you'll feel disgusting, and you'll feel like you'll walk away. Like I've had to take my top off in the same scenario as Jamie Redknapp, and look at him and go, "Oh God,
what's he do? What's
never."
Gym works out a lot.
Do you know what? I reckon he could not work out. I think he's got a metabolism. You see some footballers retire.
Yeah.
And then they put on loads of weight. Yeah. Jamie, it's like, and you know what? The first time we went to Holland together and we were filming, it was insane because that was a moment for me where I was like, it wasn't even that long really since I'd stopped working on building sites. And I was like with AJ, with Andy Joshua, Jamie Redknapp and Freddie Flintoff and John Barnes. I'm like, wow. It wasn't even like pinch yourself because these the heavyweight champion of the world, arguably the greatest guy ever to play cricket for this country, Jamie Redknapp, who's like this footballer, and John Barnes, bruv. Barnesy. I mean, you talk about 1990, Barnesy, man. It's like, and out of every, Barnesy, by the way, is one of the funniest people you ever worked with, like a mad guy. But yeah, Redknapp just he's like a captain of that thing. He puts his arm around you and you feel like, you kind of just want to bathe in whatever glow he gives off because he's an incredible guy to be around. And he's like, but we used to go out and have he'd sort of go to me, he'd go, "Oh, do you fancy one of these? There's this stuff called, it's like whipped cream called Slagroom or something like that.
Slagroom?
Yeah, it's in like Holland. And he goes, should we get some Slagroom, these coffees with this cream? Like it's like that much cream and about that much coffee, but it's like thick whipped cream. And I was like, you don't need, look at me. Like, of course I want to eat that. And then he goes, oh, should we get some cookies or chocolate muffins, pancakes? I was like, I put on about 1.5 stones. Think that he didn't even have a roll over his belt. I'm like, all my pants are just giving way. All the bands of my pants.
I can imagine.
All you can see out the Calvin Klein is a C and the N.
I can imagine him chilling with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, and Tom Cruise looking at him going, "Oh man,
hey Jamie, how are you?"
Yeah, but also Tom Cruise looks at Jamie Redknapp going, "I've had to become an actor.
Yeah,
I've had to graft." Tom Cruise, by the way, I'm like, "You're 60. At some point, give up trying to be like." In all his films, he's like the fastest man in the world.
Tom Cruise, don't give up.
Yeah. But sometimes you think, well, maybe you should.
But I think that might be the Scientology membership.
Yeah.
I might join. It looks like there's benefits there.
Yeah. Mate, he looks incredible, but he doesn't look as good as Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie Redknapp. He's the next Tom Cruise.
Yeah. I'd actually back Jamie as James Bond. I'd like to see Jamie as James Bond.
That's a good shot.
Yeah. Red as James Bond would be good.
That's a good shot.
Him and his dad, as well. I play golf with those two, right?
Just casually.
And when the thing that people say you need to be a truly amazing sportsman.
Yeah.
Right. That's where you see it. Like the thing of, I don't have that in me to win. We played in pairs. So it was Jamie and a mate of his and me and Harry. And the pressure I felt, I got put under by Harry to be good at something. And I just melted. I was just like, and Jamie was just like the rivalry between them two. And then to be caught up in the crossfire of that is someone who's very inadequate and also hasn't really got that will to win. I've been finding in my whole sporting life just to go, how did you play it today, son? I touched the ball, at a throw-in. That's enough for me. You know what I mean?
Bounce off my chin.
Yeah. I think I got a record amount of people who I got sportsmanship awards quite a lot. Someone who took part with no acclaim. And it was just enough just to be out there.
You do well in this day and age.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. What do you mean there's no winning or losing? That's perfect for me.
That might be football in 2070. Just everybody's a champion. We all lift the trophy.
Mate, that would be an incredible thing. I was even playing with Harry and we had shots on Jamie and I parred one hole. And
what does that mean?
It's basically I went round, so I went at the level of how it should be. And Harry put an arm around me, and I genuinely felt like, Harry Redknapp was West Ham man. What a G of a man, what a legend of a human being. Like me say, he's everything you want him to be and more, right? And I'm like, wow, this is how it feels to sort of have a sporting great tell you amazing. Next hole, I hit the ball from where I am to where you boys are, right? And he goes, oh, for crying out loud. And then I struggled to get out of long grass for about 40 minutes. This is just one of the worst things. Is like, let him just get out of himself, and just let him sort himself out. And them all walking away, where you're just trying to hit a ball out of the long grass, get it out, throw it, and just hope for the best.
It's a mentality thing, isn't it, really?
Yeah, man. It's a winner's mentality. I don't have that. Like, I'm just bumbling through.
I have a chiller's mentality.
Yeah.
Same, man.
A chiller's mentality is a good one.
Yeah.
And every time now and again that the sun just shines a little bit from the clouds, like, you go, oh, that's all right.
Winning.
Yeah, that's nice. Some people have the sun the whole time.
Yeah, because when Rio sat here, it was such an interesting interview, and I think a difference of energy between us two and Rio. When he was like, what are you guys planning for the next 2 months? And we're like,
can I say something about Rio? Right?
What is that?
And he's like, I can't live like that.
I'm not that far in age from Rio. I think we're a similar age, right? So I watched Rio come through, and like, the feeling when Rio Ferdinand was coming through at West Ham was like, you got to remember the greatest player ever played is Bobby Moore. All of a sudden, you got this kid coming through that everyone to have two youth players, him and Joe Cole at the time, that everyone's talking about, right? And sometimes that happens, and the person comes through and they aren't as good as you thought they were. Sometimes it happens with those two in Rio, where they're better than you even anticipated they would be, right? So Rio has been synonymous. I look at Rio and think like he's made those moves to be like, so when one of the biggest moments of my life was when I won a BAFTA, was an incredible thing to have gone from where I started to win that. Like, that was like a moment. I didn't think like that, when we won that, I didn't think for a second we were up against some of the best shows in this country. Like, and we were this tiny little weird show that no one really, like, it was really like a weird little thing. And when we won it, it was like, wow, And Rio also won that year. And afterwards, I was walking around, and like when we talk about winners' mentality and stuff, I was like, I can't really find my place within like walking around here at the moment. Like, everyone around me was winners. Everyone was like the best people in television and film or whatever. And I'm walking around, and like, I'm also like not in a way. I don't need to like run around sort of like shaking everyone. I'm not great at like networking. But then I see Rio's there, right? I know Rio a bit from sort of like social media, and I've done some charity stuff with him. And he comes over and he says, congratulations. And like, we're talking for a bit. And he's like, but what are you going to do next? What's your next thing? Right? And I was like, I don't know, like, wow, it's a BAFTA. And he went, yeah. But you enjoy it, take your wife away, have a nice time, enjoy it. And then you got to go again. And you got to win your next one of those. You put that away and you win your next one of those. And you know what? That was the first time in my life ever where I looked like, and like, he took the time to come and tell me that. And since that, I carry that with me. So that's never been like, at that point, I was like, oh, maybe this is it. This is enough. This is the thing. And then from there, I was like, actually, you know what? I can push on. And then from there, we went and we made King Gary, that became a bigger thing, and The Curse. And then like, I've just wrapped on the biggest thing I've done film-wise, and now I'm going to go and tour. Amazing. So when I say I don't have the winning thing, which is like, but actually, when I sat and chatted to Rio that night, I took a little bit of like a thing of going, I might not always win the prize, but you know what you can do is always get up in the morning and go and try, and always like push yourself to the best version of yourself. And through that little conversation I had with Rio, and I subsequently had other chats with him in there, I found that a real big inspiration.
Oh, that's interesting.
Nice little gem there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I think I'm 30. How old are you?
I'm 30.
I'm feeling those shifts a little bit. I think when you get into the 30s, maybe those questions become more.
It's family, innit? And it's also, but it's also you've got to find the thing that you want to excel at. When you see like amazing footballers and going back to that, like, and you have that drive, and they've had that drive since 10. But it's when you see someone like Rio now, where he's not just excelled at being a footballer, he's excelled as being like, a pundit, he's excelled as being a businessman, but also he's excelled at being a human being in the sense that he's able to reach down and help people from where he's from. He's able to help people in the stuff that he's been through as a guy, as a husband, as a father, whatever, he's excelled at doing that as well. And that's inspiring. And what we need in like for working class kids is inspiring people.
Tom, we go to the last shirt now, the named one.
Yeah.
So it's that one player you have in the back of the shirt, and you went with Zinedine Zidane.
All day. This was a time when like I became obsessed with like going to watch, like jumping on a ferry and go and watch games, and like this side was like a side that, so like my dad says now, he was like, I had no, like academically I was terrible at school, but I was like obsessed with like foreign football, with football in general. I'd know like players like from like the French league, from like a player from Austria, like through playing Championship Manager a little bit, but also just through like, I used to read like by like Eurosport used to do like Eurofootball used to do a magazine, so I used to be able to go there, and then you could get like L'Equipe, which is like a French magazine. So I wouldn't be able to like read like, but I'd be able to know enough about stats and stuff. I was like, and fantasy football was big, so Stato and stuff was like this, and like I was obsessed with like finding out like, so there used to be like Nantes at the time were a really, really good side. So I sort of became like obsessed with French football just at the time when, just before really it became everything that you'd see now, where like in '96, where like Zidane popped and everyone was like, you know, that French team on the run up to France '98. I'd sort of heard about these players a little bit, and like sort of knew what the French team was going to be a little bit more than, it wasn't as big a surprise like, you know, Thuram and stuff like that. These guys who were sort of like just come, you know, who I'd watched come through, and me and my dad would get like the ferry over and we'd watch like French football, and we talk about French football a lot, and it was really exciting to go and watch those games. But that Bordeaux team was like full of talent, but it had 3 exceptional talents. It had Christophe Degarry.
Oh my God.
He was a banging footballer. He was incredible. It had Lizarazu.
Oh, baller.
And it had Zidane.
Oh wow! I didn't. This was at Bordeaux.
In that they were all at Bordeaux, which was a relatively small team at that time. Degarry was one of those weird ones who sort of like later on just almost, but when you used to watch it, he sort of had that sort of, you know, like sometimes like that sort of Berbatov, and that sort of almost like way of just, like Benzema has it sometimes, where it feels like effortless, but it's brilliant, and it's like, but in the centre point of it all was this guy who just, I always think footballers as well, it helps if you've got that thing a bit like, you know, when The Simpsons, Matt Groening always said, like, when you see the silhouettes of The Simpsons, they're so distinctive. And I think with a footballer, R9 had it, Ronaldo had it. You know, when you see someone who just stands out on the pitch, is like, and because he had this sort of the ball patch.
I love that.
And you just was, and also as a bald man, you're like, wow, he's owning that ball patch. Like, he's made that the centre point of his whole look. So when I went to France at France '98, I went along, and with the hopes that from '96 we'd progress and we'd be a better team, and we might nick it. We'd added young players who could really play. So you sort of went into that tournament with so much hope, and you know, but then you knew that there was this amazing French team that were just like Vieira, Petit, you know, everyone in that team was.
So you wasn't surprised that they beat Brazil 3-0 in that final?
No.
Okay, because
you had that inside info as well, having like,
not just inside info, but inside info, but also like, you know, we'd watched Vieira, man. You'd seen what a beast. You'd seen Petit. You knew that how good they were. Thuram, you know, you're talking about a team there that was just like Lizarazu, you know, Henry was on the bench. You know, this team was like, that was always going to dominate. Just the levels that, you know, not to get too into, but like that they put in France to get these young players to the point, and subsequent, like everything you've seen since is like they've constantly, because France before then were like, they kind of struggled a little bit. So sort of, they'd have Platini, they'd have moments, but they literally were like, they could, you know, Patrice Evra, they'd like, you know, out of nowhere, like they worked really hard at developing players who could play to that level. And I think that World Cup was a moment of like, what we now almost live in a world where France, so you go into any tournament, you look at France and go, oh yeah, they could have a chance here, you know. And I think that was it. And France '98 was like the first, '96 was the first one that I went to games in this country, and then '98 was the first one that I'd gone abroad and watched games. And it was like, wow, all the bells and whistles of like a tournament as a fan was amazing. Well, I say amazing, actually, it was pretty terrifying at times.
What was the most embarrassing thing that happened when you went to a World Cup? Because I love embarrassment. So, I love him. Of course, that's what you should remember. Embarrassment, not great things.
Belt up then, because this is so. I don't know if you remember much about that tournament. One of the things that was big, really, like there was a lot of trouble, like, and where England were, it was like down by Marseille, so there was a lot of.
Oh, I was there for the ones with the Russia fans.
Yeah. So this was a lot more like, it was kicking off everywhere. Anyway, England's kit at that time, they would wear like when we played against Argentina, we were all white. I don't know if you remember, we had the white shirt, but then we wore the away shorts, so it was like an all white, like kind of Real Madrid vibe. And I'd sort of like, I like to think that that's why they wore it, is because I was busting that look, thinking it looked pretty cool.
You wore the kit to the game?
Yeah, I was wearing it.
Kit and shorts and socks.
He's ready to come on?
Not socks.
No socks.
Not ready to come on. Get a big fella out.
Long ball.
Yeah. I saw him playing for the Pacha, and he's a good player. So was Sutton Knights. He was a good player for Sutton Knights. Boot bag. I had the white shorts and the white top, and then I think I was probably busting. If it was 1998, I was probably walking about in a pair of Reebok Classics.
You're like Thai over
Yeah. Don't say that. Oh my God.
You're like England trainers on.
This isn't even the shameful bit. Anyway, when we're out there, it's kicking off, right? So it was. Wherever you go, you saw it a bit in Marseille. You'd be in like fans areas and whatever, and it wasn't probably as like organised as like when you were there, but it would just kick off in places, and it was like we were down by the front, and then someone was like, "Oh, it's kicking off like da da da," and there was police there and everything, and there was a lot of like other fans. So all the other fans are basically grouped together to give like England fans a bit of.
What, France?
Wait a minute.
Yeah. France teamed up with Cameroon, and
yeah.
Oh, so there was like a union, a European union.
Yeah. Anyway, I was like with a couple of pals, and we were bowling, trying to get sort of through this thing, and it sort of kicked off. And I saw a group of like, I think I don't know, I didn't get their passports, but I think they were German, might have been Dutch, and they're pointing like over at us, and then they're looking at me because they're like, he's the biggest guy.
You're the scalp.
He's a big guy, big pair of curtains on. If they had any internet, like they'd have looked and gone, someone would have gone, but he's wearing a whole kit. Like, he's harmless. But basically, earlier that day, I'd eaten a burger that was rare. Like, it was the first time I had really rare red meat.
Oh, no.
So as this thing kicks off, this guy, like, hits me, I hit the ground. I'm like, I just, like, hit the ground quick, and then hopefully they'll just, like, leave me alone. But they didn't want them to start kicking me. As I'm on the floor, like, everything, whether it's adrenaline, fear, whatever, fight or flight, or it might have just been a bit of food poisoning, everything spills out of me. I crap myself bad, right?
You pooed yourself.
And I'm in a white pair of shorts and a white
it's not
shirt.
even baked beans, it's something else.
Yeah, oh mate. Like, one of them just looks down and like pulls away all his friends and looks, and I'm rolling around on the floor in my own feces, right? And it's like, like they went, like that, and he goes, you get up, get up. I sort of had to get up, and sort of, as I remember it, like I remember like it's almost like a sort of like, like the sea like opens like vibe, and I just walked through, and everyone was just like, I think that there was fighting continuing, but
they let you through.
Yeah.
So it saved you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it saved me, but in the most. I actually genuinely now think actually probably like being hospitalised by being beaten up would have been less dignifying. And as you're walking past people, you could just see people like how cosmopolitan France is. People are sitting there having an espresso and a croissant, talking like that, and then going. Look at this man. I told this story to Robert Perez, and he just went, that is disgusting. I went, it was terrifying. He went, no. That is disgusting. It's like...
But I think it saved you. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And you have to be grateful for your IBS or whatever it was.
IBS? I love the idea that there's a couple of German football hooligans sitting around going, and this one time, we were in France, and we literally beat the crap out of someone.
And then they see you on a Netflix series. You go, that was him.
Yeah.
That was the guy who beat up.
Imagine like drawing curtains on him.
Yeah. I remember
like a full kit on.
Full kit shoulder
shaker. You're lucky that it wasn't now, because now somebody would have recorded it.
And
you
you
would have been viral. You'll be everyone has to do it on TikTok now.
This man proved himself at the game.
Can you the world's worst football hooligan? This guy is in the middle of Marseille, dressed in a full football kit.
I love that.
Look at these German fans kicking the poop out of him.
That automated words is classic.
Oh,
isn't it?
I hate that. You know the thing I hate, and this isn't about football, the one I can't stand is like, this man really loves his girlfriend. Watch what's about to happen. And it's like standing with the boards and sort of like, and he's like, ooh. That's everything I hate about social media in a nutshell.
Strange.
Yeah. He's like he's got no top on. A pair of really like cut jeans like that.
think that's a beautiful part, way to end this interview.
Thank you, man. I've really enjoyed this.
I'm going to tell my uncle Sebastian about that story anyway.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, thanks for coming today.
Every time.
It was a pleasure.
Of course.
I don't want to say my favourite show, but possibly the favourite episode we've done.
Of course.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 100%.
Accolades.
Fully, great stories in there.
Thank you for holding my hand and walking me down memory lane.
Of course, man. People, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. This has been Stripped, brought to you by William Hill.
That is right. Big up our guys at Classic Football Shirts for the wonderful shirts you've seen on the screen today as well.
And this has been Stripped, brought to you by William Hill.
18+, please gamble responsibly.